All right, thank you all for coming tonight. Let's start with the roll call.
Mrs. Hoover? Here. Dr. Crowe?
Here.
Mrs. Crowe? Here. Mr. Krimenacher?
Here.
Mrs. Krimenacher? Here. Mrs. Lee? Here. Mr. Shell? Mr. Basil?
Here.
Mr. Bishop? Here.
Okay, guests and patrons. Okay, remember there's 5 minutes and you state your name and your address, please. So, Lisa Mays.
I have to go down.
Well, so everybody can hear you.
I have.
And also, Lisa, the reason you're speaking. You have to say that.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Mays. The reason why I'm speaking is about the school resource officer. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. Like I said, my name is Lisa Mays, and the reason why I'm introducing myself is I'm the mayor of Northern Cambria. I'm going to make this very simple and brief. I would just like to let you know that we have a new school resource officer there this year. And probably he knows more people in Northern Cambria than I do. So I will introduce him. But the first thing I wanted to say is if you have any questions or concerns about the school resource officer this year, please contact me personally. I have given Karen my contact information. And right now I'd like to introduce our school resource officer, Brett Stewell, and he will be at the. Is he up with you or will he go back?
Everywhere.
So that's what I need to know, like I want to know, but, and that's really all I have. So again, if you have any concerns, there's an issue, just a question, feel free to reach out. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, Teresa Risbon.
I'm Teresa Risbin, 700 Old Miller Road. Oh, sorry,
There you go.
better. I come here today as a mental health advocate, a parent, and mostly as a paraprofessional in this district. I speak to you today on the extreme importance of mental health of our children in our schools. Mr. Krug fears we are turning our schools into a medical facility. Mental health is a very large part of schooling today. I work in the pre-K counts program here at NC. So with very young children, and I have 4 of my own as well. With social media a forefront, mental health is huge. Bullying is extremely enormous. That is a mental health issue. For some children, school is their safe and comfortable place. For others, it's not. It's their hard place. Which brings me to Mrs. Previous' potential therapy dogs. Not very good at public speaking, sorry. There were good questions asked at the meeting about the vet bills and insurance, which I understand those questions need to be addressed. The fact that those board members dismissed the idea so fast is small-minded in my opinion. The benefits of therapy dogs in schools are endless. Reduced anxiety, improved social skills, increased attendance, enhanced learning outcomes, increased self-esteem, reduced negative behaviors, improved mental well-being, boosting self-confidence in reading to a child when they read to a therapy dog. The list goes on and on. None of those topics were considered. There are considerations such as allergies to the dog, students being afraid of the dog. They have to be looked into. Therapy dogs are becoming wildly popular, so I'm assuming these issues are not insurmountable. If you board members find yourselves in the unique position to be free of mental health concerns, I applaud you. How fortunate in this trying world you must be. The overwhelming majority of the rest of the world is not. This is a potential huge opportunity for the students of our school district to benefit from. Thank you, Mrs. Previtt, for offering it to us, and thank you for the reasonable board members for considering it. That's all I have.
Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Bob Trusello, speaking on the life skills classroom.
Thanks. I'm not sure I need a microphone. I think everyone can probably hear me. I'm looking around the room and I think, it's fair to say that I'm the oldest person in the room. I had a birthday last week. I turned 78, and for 58 years, I've been working with people with disabilities. When I first came to Northern Cambria, we had a life skills support program at the high school, and we had none at the elementary or middle school. At that time, we were also paying an outside agency, Intermediate Unit 8, for community-based instruction. And I remember going to Mr. Bronish and showing him the bill we had from IU8. I think it was about $36,000 a year. They sent one person here with a van and an aide and took our students out 7 to 8 times a year. So I told Mr. Bronish, we have a van, we have teachers, let's start with that. So that generalized to the high school. At that time, we had no life skills support class here in the elementary middle school complex. And what life skills really is for students who are younger functioning. And I choose not to use the term lower functioning and high functioning. I think they're horribly insulting. So about 2 or 3% of our nation's population falls into the category of intellectual disability. I was sitting in my office after my usual workday was finished, and I pulled up the IEPs and the evaluation reports of the students that we are quote unquote targeting for our elementary life skills class here. And I was just showing Mrs. Lytle, who's the life skills teacher, that they're extremely young functioning. I mean, when we think of IQs of 45 and 50, those are people who can't learn the traditional way. So the life skills class here that we have in the elementary middle school complex grew because we had several students who were being educated out of here. We were paying for a teacher in another school district. We were paying for a one-on-one aide in another school district. We were paying for transportation to that school district. We also brought back a student to our high school last year, our high school life skills class. And I would yield to Mr. Bronish or Dr. Pasonic on his total. But I think we were paying that particular district roughly $52,000 or $53,000 a year to educate that student. That student's now at our high school. Students who in life skills support require basic hands-on learning to learn simple things. Things like washing their hands, how to help with cooking, how to help with laundry, community-based instruction. They can't generalize learning. So a traditional student might understand that, 5 + 5 is 10. But if you go to the grocery store and you ask them to get 5 of these and 5 of those, they're not going to know that's 10. I just think life skills support is crucial for our district. I would love to see it grow. Right now, we have in the life skills program here in the elementary middle school complex, we have 2 students who are people with Down syndrome. One is in the exceptionality category of intellectual disability. The other is other health impairment, because that student is a type 1 diabetic with a one-on-one nurse. We also have 2 or 3 youngsters who are extremely young functioning academically, who require that level of support. I know I don't want to take too much of your time, but I do want to mention one thing. The outcome then for starting students that young in functional education through the elementary middle school to the high school is actually a program at Admiral Perry Vocational Technical School that's referred to as the PACE Lab. And that program is one that traditional students wouldn't require. Traditional students would go there and learn HVAC, electrical, carpentry, small engine repair, diesel mechanics, cybersecurity. But students such as the ones that we're starting to educate now in life skills will require that practical education. The end result of that is they can become productive in society. We toured our life skills students to the Cambria County Association for the Blind and Handicapped, our high school life skills students. I have a friend I used to work with him when I had my other business. He was in life skills. He went through the life skills program in our neighboring school district, elementary school, where he was learning all those basic things, middle school, high school. He now works at the Association for Blind and Handicapped. He's married and he takes home about $375 every 2 weeks. He lives in an unsupervised apartment in the greater Johnstown area, right across from the War Memorial. Toby, I'm sure you know where those apartments are. So I just think it's prudent, it's incumbent on us as a district to look at those students who aren't in the middle of a bell-shaped curve. I mean, I've been privileged in my life. I've worked with kids who are gifted. I've worked with people who are significantly very young functioning. And every day in this building and in the other building, I work with traditional students too. So I come to you this evening to ask that we do everything we can for those who are the youngest functioning, because sometimes those are the ones we just don't see. Thanks for your time.
No board members have any questions.
I'll answer any questions.
So I'll go last. Go ahead.
Thanks. Okay, so my question to you is, I have two questions.
Sure.
Number one, and I think you touched on this, is it required from the state, the Department of Education, that we have a life skills room in our school?
I'll answer that question first. So if we look at those letters that we throw around, like we're throwing around Halloween candy, free appropriate public education, in my mind, the most important letter is the A. And in sign language, it will be A, because that's appropriate. So what's appropriate for those students? I mean, I can tell you, I'm in that room every day. I mean, I'm on the floor with them, I'm working with them, working with their speech and language, with our therapist, with their teacher. Nothing is required, but we have to meet them where they are. I mean, if we keep pounding a square peg into a round hole, pretty soon the peg's not going to be square and the hole's not going to be round. So it's required that we meet them where they are. That's what's actually required.
Okay, so then the second part of my question
Okay.
would be, if we do not supply life skills to these students, would we be in non-compliance of ADA requirements for our district?
And it goes for ADA for sure, but it goes beyond ADA. Without going into great detail, I think I've dealt with more attorneys this summer than I have teachers. And I'll just leave it go with that. And one of my jobs here is to try to keep us out of court. And I think that's not going into great detail. I think the best I can do. I answer any of your questions.
But,
Yes, ma'am.
Bob, is this on? It is now, I think. Oh, well, whoever. Anyway, Bob, my question is, the life skills room for the elementary.
Mhm.
Okay, is it required that there be working appliances, like a range in that room? And then who's responsible if that child learns to cook and goes home and says, I can do that myself, and mom and dad or whoever is not watching them? Are we then responsible that we?
This, I'm not jumping out of an escape hatch, Carol,
Okay,
but so if we had a student who was using scissors in another classroom, and then they went home and they stabbed someone with a pair of scissors, were we responsible for that? I think not.
I don't know, are we? I mean, we could be. So
Yeah,
it seems
we're-
like we're responsible for a lot that you
We're-
would think we aren't.
We're responsible for meeting their needs. And I know these students extremely well. I know the demographics. I know what some of the families have been through. Actually, Mrs. Lytle and I hope I don't cry when I say this. We just wrestled really hard to try to keep one of these students in our district. Because the mother signed a lease thinking it was Northern Cambria, and it said Northern Cambria area. It was a different district. And I just happened to see a sign for an apartment. We contacted that person who contacted the mother. Now we're trying to get them a lease because she said, my son or daughter has learned more here than they've ever learned before.
So at what age do you teach an elementary student to cook?
Um,
Second grade, third grade, fourth grade?
first, I would say to assist in cooking, starting out with assisting in cooking. I know my 3 children, son and 2 daughters, they learned to assist in cooking quite early. I mean, I don't remember exactly what grade level. My son would be 49 if he were alive. My daughters are 34 and 30. I don't remember. It was quite early. They're cooking with assistants. See, and the assistants can't be, Billy, push 267, or push 135. It can't be that way. Because first of all, they don't actually know what 135 is.
Well, I'm a mother and I had children also. My children are probably just a little younger than yours. And I don't ever remember cooking with them at third grade. I mean, if they assisted in cooking, it was, Mom, can I help with this? And they, even then, they don't always vocalize as well as you think they do. So it might be, measure in a cup. Use it, go get me a
That's-
teaspoon.
And that's where it starts. And there's a saying about kids who are young functioning, their second language is visual. So modeling the skills, teaching them the skills hand over hand. And I know our job isn't to be their parent, but it becomes more incumbent on us when we know they're not learning it anywhere else. Because then we're not meeting them where they are, kind of the question that you asked earlier. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I enjoy my job here. I want to support all the students. Some of them are very easy to support. I supervise gifted education. That's piece of cake. Sometimes.
Well, I've been told, because I asked a question about the elementary.
Sure.
And it's like, I have nothing against, special education. I know children that are in this school, my children went to this school. But as a mother, I'm concerned about their safety. And I think that was missed in social media and a lot of people who spoke out.
Well, and I didn't see anything in social media.
That's a good thing.
I don't live here. I drive 37 miles to get home. I don't go to restaurants here. I don't go to bars here. I don't play basketball here. I don't go to the gym here. So I don't know that. I'm just speaking, from my heart. What I know is the right thing to do. And it's your decision to make. And, I obviously, being contracted here, I live with your decisions. I appreciate the opportunities you've given me. And I'll continue to do what I think is right. What's the old saying? Right's right if no one's right. And wrong's wrong if everyone's wrong. I think you had a question.
Yes.
I have 2 questions. If we were to purchase the equipment, does it need to be ADA compliant, appliances?
The appliances I've seen in kitchens and other school districts are ADA compliant.
Okay,
But that doesn't answer the question, does it need to be?
correct, yeah. Because I'm not sure, like, if, say we have a child come in who is in a wheelchair,
Mhm.
and that child, what would be appropriate for them would be life skills classes, if for one reason or another, and I'm certainly not an expert in this at all, but I know that, ADA has been an issue before. And before we buy equipment, I would like to know, should it be ADA compliant?
I think it would be to our advantage to make it, to get equipment that's ADA compliant for those reasons.
And, my other question, it's not really a question, it is, well, I guess it's a question. When you give us, as our special education director in this district, when you give us recommendations on what should be the appropriate programs for our students, whether it be gifted or special education, life skills, whatever, you're giving us those recommendations based on your expertise and what your knowledge of the law, correct?
Correct.
So and when you say what is right, of course, that's what you feel in your heart, but it also is what is correct within the law.
I'll give you a really good example of that. Different student, and I know Dr. Sonic and at least 1 or 2 other people in the audience are aware of what I'm speaking of. We had a student or students with some specific interpersonal needs. our curriculum, I felt, based on the law, based on my expertise, our curriculum wasn't touching that student or students. Quite a while ago, I had the honor of working with someone in New York State who used to teaching pro-social behavior to antisocial youth. So I spoke with Mrs. Gibbons, a middle school principal. I said, if we get skill streaming, this is the best thing for the student or students. Within a week, we had that. We presented it to our emotional support teacher, because that would be kind of what you're referencing, all students, not just the gifted, not just those with intellectual disabilities. So, I mean, we spent a lot of time, I'm not saying we as a team spent a lot of time looking into that. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have a conversation with each of the three principals, unless they're not here. You know, Mrs. Previous was coming back from a funeral today. She's on the phone with me, coming from Philadelphia. You know, so I don't make unilateral decisions. I think one of my jobs is to make prudent recommendations, whether it's to the school board, to the superintendent, to the principals. I listen to our teachers. We had a staff meeting, special ed staff meeting today. The room was full. I think I took questions and listened to, and some people had some really good input. So I look at it as a team.
Also, the way FAPE is set up in those regulations. In speaking with someone at PDE, I was told that it is incumbent upon school board members to use the advice of the expert in the field in order to remain within the law. And so you are that person. Dr. Masonic is one of those people, you specifically for special education. So everything you're telling us is what is appropriate for our students and to keep us within the law.
And the taste test of that was, we went through compliance monitoring. And the only quirks were, with all due respect to someone in the room, were boxes that weren't checked. I mean, so we were well within the law, and that's the taste test. Our special ed plan was accepted, was reviewed. We met all the guidelines. You know, and there are some times when the litigious part of it comes in, I call Mr. McElwain. I mean, for a while we were on speed dial. I mean, so it isn't just me. I mean, I make recommendations. I go to the people that I think are the right people to take those recommendations to, including you all. You know, respect to everyone. Any questions? Yes?
Yeah, Hank, you wanted to comment on something.
I wanted to shed a little more light on the ADA. To try to clarify that, the room is designed to be ADA compliant. So what that means is your countertops, instead of being a standard 36 inches high, your countertops in that room are 34 inches high. So if you were to get appliances that weren't ADA compliant, they wouldn't fit. Like, for instance, the dishwasher would not slide underneath the counter if it's not an ADA compliant dishwasher. The range there's an opening, so it would slide in, but it would be 2 inches higher than the countertop. It wouldn't align with the countertop.
So it is important to know that, because the room is required to be ADA compliant, and therefore the appliances would need to be also in order to fit the way the room is designed.
Right, yes, the way we designed this building was, anything new that we were designing in this building, we designed to be fully ADA compliant.
Thank you. That's important when we look at this.
I think there are a couple of questions or so.
I know, so I'll go this part of the questions that I had, email everyone. So it's my understanding, like, this is not the first year for the life skills classroom in elementary. Did we have a class last year for life skills as well?
We had a class last year, which was the first year for that program. And that class, because of the classroom that we have, which was on the second floor, was limited to 2 full-time life skills students. So we saw the fruit of that classroom. That's why we expanded it to bring other students in. They wouldn't be in there full-time. So we have 2 students who are in there the majority of their time. They go out for special. They all have homerooms. I just talked with Mrs. Lytle a little while ago about the one student who's a 5th grade student who will come in and go right to his or her homeroom. They go to specials. They're well received. They have their Colt Cafe cart. They have a baked goods, bottle of water. They come around, people buy them from them. They're very well, I won't mention names, but we'll say the young man in the class is Danny. if I'm walking down the hall with Danny, there's more high Danny's than high Bobs.
So were there appliances in the classroom last year?
No. There were not appliances in the classroom.
So how did we stay compliant with PDD and ADA then last year?
Because last year we were meeting them where they were, because they were in a previous school district before. The progress they made last year, not just as per our reflection, but as per the reflection of the parents, was incredible. The mother of the one child said, my son or daughter never learned so much. They are now to a level where their education needs to be functional, needs to be more doing than reading, where that functionality will carry over into activities of daily living and to those kinds of skills. Community-based instruction. So in working with the students, the life skill students at the high school, I don't want people to be taken advantage of. I've seen people with disabilities go to a grocery store with a handful of $1 bills, and sugar is $7.65, and they hand them 20 $1 bills. So I started working with a high school teacher, again, talking about high school, on a system called a +1 system. So when he takes his students to the high school and they see $7.65, they give them 8 ones. So that's the end result of that functional education. These youngsters weren't there.
So my other question would be like, so if we don't have family consumer sciences with neurotypical children until they're in 7th or 8th grade, why are we like exposing younger functioning children to appliances at such a young age? If we don't have family consumer science with like neurotypical children, it's like, until they're in 7th or 8th grade, why are we exposing younger functioning children to appliances?
Because their skill development. So if skills are really developmental in nature, their skill development is such, it's going to take them a lot longer to get to that level where this Duke Wallace has their family consumer science. They just don't have the skill set.
But shouldn't we also be exposing neurotypical children to appliances to use as well?
You can ask somebody else that question. It's not anything to do with special ed, but yeah.
And I can address that. But if you want to ask Bob some questions.
I do.
address that.
First, I want to clarify that the area in question here is K-4, correct? I mean, the age in question is kindergarten through 4th grade. And maybe to expand on what Mara's saying, I'm thinking the same question, similar question I have written down. If our regular ed students are not, they are not accessible to a full kitchen to learn these skills in our regular ed students, to learn these skills. Why do you feel we need to offer it to our life skills students who are not permitted in the same rooms or alongside of those regular ed students? Because I feel that then the regular ed students are missing out, or maybe too, they are not also ready for that in those grades. K-4 is my area of concern as curriculum.
And actually, we'd be having an age range exception for this class because it's also going to include a 5th grader. So, and life skill support isn't just the appliances. Life skill support is all the knowledge that will get them to be able to use that hand over hand and understand that. I mean, there's so much more. I don't want to read I copied a blurb that I wrote on life skill support. I mean, it's all functional education, as is math. I mean, I worked with Mrs. Lytle last year on math skills because, numbers are not numerals and numerals aren't numbers. So we had to work on the relationship between a numeral and a number. So all those functional things just build into that. I mean, there's no one easy answer to that. And I can't speak to why neurotypical students don't have access to that at that grade level.
No,
Go ahead, Jerry.
hold on, I'm not finished.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
I'm not finished yet, just a couple more things. Okay, then my question is, a couple things I have written down here for me to reflect on. Then my concern is, in the area of curriculum, we're not offering this to our kids K-4, our regular ed students. We're being asked to offer it to life skills students only at a very young age.
And what are we doing for our regular ed kids then? Why are they not getting the attention that the special ed is we're directing our special ed kids to all this attention and all these additional things that we're not trusting our regular ed kids to. I see them not getting the attention as they deserve as well.
There's not a week that goes by that someone doesn't say to me, my son doesn't have an IEP, my daughter doesn't have an IEP, why don't they get that? And I want to say, maybe it's fortunate that your son doesn't have that disability. I mean, I honestly, Norm, I'm not being crass. I get that question all the time.
But I'm looking at it this way, then our regular ed students are falling in the cracks here because we are focusing right now, another issue on grades K through 4 life skills, needing an entire kitchen and appliances. I would love to see then the equivalent of our regular ed kids. They don't have that capability. Why? I mean, that to me, that's not justifiable to me.
And then, this is the first time I'm passing the baton. I can't answer that question. That's just not my bailiwick. You know, I don't just care about the kids who have IEPs. I mean classrooms every day. But I don't know why they don't have that.
And I understand that, you're looking out in your area, but there's a problem there because we're not offering the same equivalent education to our young children. Or is it because maybe they are a little young? I also feel that they're quite young, ages K through 4 to be operating a stove, to be using a dishwasher, even possibly a microwave at this point. You know, what about just learning to make peanut butter and jelly and tying shoes and doing the life skill things that just function in a normal day? But that's just looking at from the curriculum end. I just feel that they are getting the attention that maybe they deserve, but they're also taking from the regular ed kids because we don't have space or room for that as well.
So, and those neurotypical kids are spending 2 periods a day on reading and 2 periods a day on math. When the students that we're talking about aren't able to read or do math in that way. So the outcome that those neurotypical kids are getting, to use that term, from those double periods of reading or double periods of math, or going to social studies or going to science, our students don't have the prerequisite skills to get there. I mean, reading and math, reading pervades the whole curriculum. If our students who are that young functioning, so we have a student who's, I just looked, he's 11 years of age, his IQ is about 49. So if we do the math, he's about 4 years, 10 months of age. Developmentally. So he's not a typical 5th grader. So what can we do where he is to help him progress? I mean,
But I don't see that operating a stove is going to improve this matter.
you don't, okay. Well,
I mean, I'm not seeing that. That's why I'm asking you these
well,
questions.
that, I mean, I've lived in those, with those life skills classes where those skills are taught. I think you visited, I'm not gonna pick on this Vital. When we were discussing life skills last year, I wanted to send her to life skills classes that were well-founded, that were in place. And I remember one particular class, she came back and she said, wow, they have an entire kitchen.
And I can address.
If you can hold on, but you can answer these questions because they're all kind of the same. Did you have one? Okay. You guys pretty much asked the questions I was gonna ask, but I was contacted at 4:28 PM before this meeting by a retired special ed auditor from the state. And he said to ask you a couple questions. He goes, with this new building project, if this room was planned, was it outlined in specifics in your special ed plan that you sent to the state?
It is,
Okay,
it's in a special ed plan.
he said it had to be in detail with this kind of stuff, what he said. And then the second one is it curriculum plan for the regular ed kids along with the special ed kids of the same age? Cause he said they have shut other schools down for that reason, not being done for that reason.
I don't do the general ed planning, the curriculum mapping, the curriculum planning. The room is in the special ed plan. The curriculum is in the special ed plan. The teacher is in the special ed plan.
Well, that's good. That answers one of the questions. What I'm asking. The other one is he said, and this is actually a big one that's on curriculum, is it planned for the regular ed kids along with the special ed kids of the same age? That's what he asked. He said, that's a big one.
Yeah, so he's a monitor,
He said he did an auditor or monitor, whatever they do. He said,
likewise.
if they wanted to shut other schools down for them not having that in the plan.
Yeah, well, I've done monitoring for quite a number of years. And I don't remember that being a monitoring question. I'm not arguing with you, Dr.
Well,
Fu.
you know,
Yeah.
I guarantee you know who it is.
Probably,
No, I'm not gonna use his name.
that's okay.
But he asked me to ask that question.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I asked the question, but you got her to feel, so he's asking the question legality. That might be something you have to think about. Okay.
Is there anything else I can
Okay,
answer? If we go to
This-
Dr.
this
Fasonic
one-
for
this one
that.
I can do with that.
So I think a couple of things we need to focus on. Faith, free and appropriate. Equal is not always the same. What's appropriate for one child may not be appropriate for another child. So to say that the special ed or the life skills students are getting those skills in the kitchen, it's not fair because the other kids are not. I can have the exact same argument that those kids, the life skills kids, aren't getting the same curriculum that the regular ed kids are getting. Once again, it's not about giving them all the same curriculum. It's about providing them what they need to be successful. That would be like me putting a second grader in a calculus class, if that was my curriculum. Well, the other kids are doing that. I have 10th graders doing that. So why don't I have second graders doing that? It's not about equal or the same. So what is appropriate for one student may look different than what's appropriate for another student. I also spoke to PDE. I spoke to our current auditor, Pat Hager. And Pat did agree that it was in our plan. She questioned, she remembered the plan, she remembered Bob talking with her about the plan. And let me give a little background about this. This is something that's happened over several years. So when I first started here, one of the things I saw, and one of the things that was asked of me was, how do we reduce costs? One of those was to be able to provide our own life skills. I knew we had the faculty with our numbers dropping. I knew we had the appropriate people and we had the space. So by bringing back students into our own school for life skills, one, save the district money. Secondly, that curriculum that we provide them was based on the idea that we were going through renovations and we were going to have a room that had all of these things available to those students. Again, their needs are different. It's about faith, free and appropriate. I think Bob said appropriate is the most important letter in that.
Thanks, sir.
So again, what's appropriate is what they need to succeed in order to do that. Why don't we have other fourth graders in the kitchen? Because we're focusing on reading and writing, math and science. I would love to have that opportunity for them. But we don't have the staff, nor do I have the facility to do that. Do we need to have more middle school kids involved in FCS? Absolutely. And that is also part of the plan and part of the vision, that when we move into one building, that I will be able, and I've already had that conversation with Amanda Gonzalez, we have one FCS teacher. The only way we can offer that, again, is that we're in one building. So it makes it very easy. And yes, we will push that down into those younger grades. What she does with the students is very different what Mrs. Lytle is going to do with the students. And as Bob had mentioned, what may take a neurotypical student 2 weeks to learn, it may take a life skills student 2 years to learn. So again, we need to give them what they need to succeed. This is very forefront, very forward thinking. The other thing is that I have a life skills in the elementary right now. but it may not always be that. We have a life skills at the elementary, we have none at the middle school, we have one at the high school. And there are many aging sessions for life skills. So I cannot put in one room a second grader with a 10th grader. But what I can do over here, depending on the age of who's here, I might be able to accommodate students in 5th grade, 6th grade, and maybe even 7th grade, depending on the other students that are in that classroom. Or I can move them into the high schools, life skills. We are not doing anything dangerous. We are not doing anything unusual. This is forward thinking, saving the money district, and it's what's appropriate for those students at that level. And then you heard from the expert. He's been in those classrooms. The teacher does not have an issue with working with those students in the classroom around a stove, around a fridge, around a dishwasher, around a washing machine. So once again, let's listen to those of us that have done this work when we make our decisions.
I have a question.
We'll let Jerry go first. You didn't make the comments yet.
So we don't have a life skills room from fifth in middle school. Okay, so I feel that we're putting a cart in front of a horse, that they would be a little more developed, understand what stove is, just like having home ec in middle school. I'm a little confused why we targeted our elementary kids and not our middle school kids at that point.
Because we had elementary students that were life skills. And we were building, renovating that room. So that's why we did it. And if we have a 5th grader, we'll put them in there. But if I just have something at the middle school level, I think we're missing the big picture here. This is all about these appliances and being in the kitchen and whether or not they can be around appliances. It's about providing them all the skills that they need. And as I said, it takes those non-neurotypical students longer to learn these skills. If we are to make them successful, we may need to start teaching that in 3rd grade, maybe in 4th grade. 5th grade? Sure, I can have a 5th grader over here in the elementary room, as long as I don't have any kindergarten kids in there. So 1, it was to save the district money. 2, it's bringing our kids back, which the parents are happy about, and they're thriving. And they're doing very well. 3, it was a way to not have to furlough a teacher by bringing those back. You know, it's win-win for everything in my opinion.
Good, Norman, you said,
Yes, you can
okay, go ahead.
I have a question. You said the child that was in.
I bring my old years up there, so.
Sorry,
No, it's okay, it's all good.
you said the child that was in 5th grade had an IQ of like, basically like a 4-year head.
Yeah, Actually wrote it down. It's about 53. Yeah, about 53. So if I do the math, so you can see there's a 3-year age range for elementary, but you can do what's called an age range exception. So you could have a 4-year difference. You could put it into the IEPs. Actually, I would call our advisor that Dr. Personic spoke of. I know pretty well. I would just say how we're going to create an age range for Jimmy Smith. Yeah, this student is 11 years, 9 months of age. So if we do math right, an IQ of 53, he or she's probably functioning as a 5-year, not totally trained. Very little speech. Seizure disorder.
And are the 2 elementary students that are younger than him, are they even younger functioning, like age-wise?
I can try in a second. So, one who is probably going to be getting some hands-on math instruction, his IQ is 58. Another who's getting math instruction, a 9-year-old, IQ of 66. I know IQ doesn't tell it all.
I was just wondering, like,
Yeah.
functionality, where they all
They're-
were.
Yeah, the 2 students who were in there last year full-time, meshed really well. One of them is a type 1 diabetic, has a one-on-one LPN. Who travels with that student on the van all day long. So a lot of compromising needs.
And My only thing is I have like, a 4-year-old in my house, I have a 2-year-old in my house, and a lot of things that I focus on teaching them, like, trying to wipe your own butt, you have to go to the bathroom, wash your hands, brush your teeth, comb your hair, like a good hygiene. I don't normally take my 4-year-old, and then tell her to load the dishwasher or, cook myself, cook herself some breakfast. Not saying to do it by herself, or not that you're gonna make her do it by herself.
Right.
That's just where I'm like falling into like a little bit of a conundrum, because I'm not, what I mean, I'm seeing what I do with my 4-year-old at home and what they're gonna do. And I'm not saying either way is perfect, I'm just trying to figure it out myself, but.
So last year, we had to take the students down the hallway, and the classroom was upstairs, and one could be toilet trained, the other one it absolutely is not. They had to get down the hallway into a different restroom with an aide going in there with it. This classroom has a restroom right there. I mean, so it's pretty self-sufficient. Self-care is a big thing. We'll move forward to hygiene kits with a toothbrush, and actually with deodorant, with toothpaste, brushing your teeth hand over hand in a sink. I mean, that's just what we're going to move toward.
I'm just saying, like, if we're not even there yet, like, I just don't understand how we need an oven and a dishwasher. That's my, where I'm coming from.
That would be instruction, demonstration, hand over hand, assisting, handing them commodities, not necessarily working those appliances.
I could definitely see having it in the high school, even maybe in the middle school. I'm just really having a hard time with that elementary school. But I know.
No, I would never argue with you.
No, and I know.
I see where you're coming from.
The thought of that, like, everything we're talking about is fine motor skills, right? In elementary, we're talking about figuring out fine motor
And
skills.
actually, Gerald, they all get occupational therapy to address the fine motor skills, that lets them do that. So, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I'm fine, it's good, I just don't see where having appliances is tuning fine motor skills myself,
Well, the fine
I'm
motor,
confused there, like stacking blocks, everything we learned, like, where are we at?
Yeah.
With what we're doing with the stove and the refrigerator and the dishwasher.
well, they all get fine motor instruction from occupational therapy. Camco physical therapy is there 1 or 2 times a week. All those students get that. They also get, one of them gets physical therapy, because physical therapy is more growth motor skills. They all get speech and language. I mean, we're trying to give them everything developmentally that they don't have.
Right, that's what, I guess it's where I'm confused is I feel that room should be in middle school for them kids. They're getting to a point, the same with our mainline kids, where we introduce them to that stuff.
Well, see, that's why
You get where I'm coming from.
I do, I understand.
I'm totally confused on that point.
Well, see, and then we also have a sensory room, because they definitely so a lot of times people who are young functioning will self-stick, so we have a sensory room. We had a lot of appliances, a lot of apparatus that was contributed. First year I was here, someone called, they donated a water wheel, they donated a bolster swing, so they can meet the sensory room, and it's adjacent to the classroom. So I guess I'll try to sum it up this way, because I know you all have a lot of business. We're trying to meet them holistically, trying to meet all their developmental needs. And to use your term, they're not neurotypical. Yes, sir, Mike.
Just a couple comments, well, feel bad for you, I feel like you're on the hot seat a little bit.
It's all good.
But some good questions, some I would probably question, but at the same time, I think what we need to think of as a school board is one, can we do it? Do we need to do it? And can we afford it? And I think right off the bat, we could probably answer all 3 of those yes. And then secondly, do a couple of comments. I mean, Carol, yours was a fair comment. I mean, at first I thought first and second grader, I thought that was a little bit young at first. But at the same time, I think if we think it from the other standpoint, if we don't teach a first or second or third grader what the risk of touching a stove, maybe they don't know, and then all of a sudden they go home and unintentionally turn the stove on because they didn't realize how to use it. So you could debate that both ways, but I think there's benefits. Like, I mean, just think of the term life skills. We're not teaching them education per se. These are life skills of how to support themselves in the community and in their home. So you got to look at it from the standpoint that, I heard Norma mention 3 times curriculum. I would think she would know whether or not they can squeeze these classes in during curriculum compared to a normal fourth grader. Sounds to me like they probably can't because they have more math and reading for the other students. So to me, it seems like they have the capacity in terms of their schedule to potentially have those classes, but also, again, from a activities of daily living, these are skills that these kids may not be getting all that taught at home. And we have the ability to teach them in the school setting. It's what, a 3-to-1 ratio to, I don't know, what is there, a few students in there?
Correct.
3-to-1. We heard there was direct cost savings from bringing these students back into the school district, which we've talked about numerous times. How do we save money as a school district? We heard some of the high numbers. This is the cost of a coach for one season for appliances that are gonna last years. So again, I welcome the debate. I think it's a good thing as a board. We need to look at it from both perspectives, but we do need to look at it from the standpoint of, well, do the kids need it? Is it something that we can afford? And are we being presented from professionals that, yes, they're going to benefit from it? I think that's it. And hey, thank you very much for the 88 thing. I wouldn't even realize that the countertops and all that would have addressed the fact that we need to get different appliances addressed. I think those are all good points, but that's all I really want to make.
Welcome to the discussion. Everybody's coming from a different place. I don't feel challenged by that whatsoever.
A question, it's not for you, Bob.
Okay,
It's for Laura and Roland. The number that's being thrown around is $6,000. Is that for the ADA compliant appliances?
So it currently, it was not originally, but it was more than was anticipated. I'm not asking for any more than the 6,000. I will make do with that 6,000. If that's what the board's willing to do, and I will get as many appliances as we can. It's going to be close. I think with the other appliances, it was less than, I think it was $4,900 for everything. But looking at the ADA compliance, and Hank just did remind me, we had 3 life skills rooms. We had a middle school, elementary, and a high school room. We got rid of one to save costs. And so that's why we're looking at, one of them is like a K-8 or K-7, and one is a 8-12. But
That's for next year, right?
what is for next year?
You're gonna have 2 next year.
We have 2 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one up at the high school and
Yes.
the one down
Yes,
here.
yes, but we will make do with the 6,000.
Okay, second off, are we able to bring some of those appliances that we'll no longer be using next year to this building? I've asked that question before, and I think we can. So why would we be purchasing brand new right now when we do have appliances that we can gather from the high school to move them to this building?
So I can't answer that. The appliances at the high school are new. We recently bought those with some Easter's money, so those are scheduled to go into the new FCS room, so that's over where the kindergarten was. Today I talked to the FCS teacher. We have older appliances that are in the FCS room, the middle school one right now. She would like to have an additional fridge. So there are some appliances there that she would be taking over. Right now, what's going to happen in the building is that once that room is done, they're gonna open that section. So within the month, they're going to open that section, and they're closing down this section, the band room, the FCS room, the art room, and they're going to start in there. So I have to take those appliances, those old appliances that are not ADA compliant. I have to take those older appliances that are in there and then move them over so that she can have class. If I don't do that, there will be no 8th grade FCS until next school year. So that would affect the curriculum. We'd have to not have FCS for an entire school year.
Okay, and one final note from me. I just want to clarify for the public that we are being asked to purchase a full kitchen and appliances for life skills ages K-4, grades K-4. And I don't feel it's age appropriate. That's my.
And I would like to clarify that we've said it's not necessarily going to be just K-4. That it will be older grades that will be in there. But maybe not right now. But you, Bob, you said there will be a 5th grader in there.
Yeah, 5th grade age.
fifth grade age.
Sorry, just one more question. Can you mix like, because you were saying like you only mix certain age students, so if we had like a room for K through 8, can you mix all those students
If
together?
the students aren't in the room at the same time, so, there's a 3-year age range for elementary, there's a 4-year age range, and it's not grade, it's age, for secondary. So you could have, so for example, our speech therapist, one speech therapist, well, actually, it's gonna be one, we're buying 2 extra days from Kimco. She has students K through 12, but she hasn't served those ages at the same time. So if we had a 7th grader that was in Mrs. Vitale's class, but was in his morning core classes, and then while her afternoon students who were younger were out and there were specials, and he or she came back for life skills, you're not violating anything, as long as they're not in the room at the same time.
So,
And if they are, you could get an age range exception. They don't usually want to, PDE doesn't, if you're a special ed, doesn't want to usually have that age range exception for more than a year. And you do a couple of things, you contact the parents, you indicate that because Johnny is 4 years older than the youngest student in the class, the teacher feels it's not going to impact her ability to facilitate his IEP. Parent signs off on it, or Bureau Special Ed Advisor. For Dr. Pastonic mentioned, Pat Haglund signs off on it, but the speech is a good example.
so you think there's a possibility where like we could have it used as a middle school and an elementary school room as long as the schedules like worked out that they could block
That's been the
classes?
plan from day one.
It would just it requires some, like, I don't mean to say creative, some prudent scheduling.
Thank you.
And again, 2 years ago, we didn't have life skills in this building. We brought students back.
I don't ever recall, a discussion of this board of furloughing any teachers. So I feel the teachers are the building blocks of this school district.
Okay, we good? Superintendent's report. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If you need me to come and talk about anything with special ed, just
When we get, the problem is we're gonna probably need you to answer some questions later on of a different thing we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have an executive session first. Do you wanna do that now before he leaves, or do you wanna stay around? It's on the TSI.
whatever you want me to do. I've had a really long day, but I'll do whatever you want me to do, Dr. Cook. It's all good.
Can we discuss it here?
Are you guys okay with the TSI, identification? Let's do it now. Yeah, okay?
Actually, I'm the one that's gonna address the TSI.
Well, if you stay with us though, just in case, it's gonna be that, okay? So we're gonna go into the action agenda real quick and go over this. There's a motion here that we have to approve, I believe. And it is item. Yeah, guys. See it anywhere? That's a TSI thing here. Okay, it's on page 6, under curriculum and instruction, item A. It's elementary, middle school, and high school plans. Okay, we'll go, be it resolved, the Board of Education approves the school plans required for our elementary school, which is designed or designated as Title I and TSI targeted support and improvement for our special education population in the elementary and middle schools, and the appendixes that follow. They're huge, and they're long, okay? I don't know if anybody else had a chance to read them. I tried to. They're very involved. Okay, so if you want to take over and tell us what this is for and what it's about, and if you guys have questions, you can ask them now.
Do we need to? Hear about it?
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we'll go that far. Because we may need to table that.
So, the explanation of TSI. TSI stands for Targeted Support and Improvement. So what the state has started to do is that they look at PSSA scores and growth scores year after year. And if they find that you are lacking in growth or you're lacking in achievement, they may identify you in one of three categories. One is comprehensive support and improvement. That is not us. That is where you're in big trouble, things have not been working well, and they may come in and take over the school. The next level is called additional targeted support and improvement. And this is where groups of students have been below the target levels for several years. And the third one, the least restrictive, is called targeted support and improvement. So what we found out is that according to, and the problem with this is that this is according to 21-22 data. They don't even use the newest data. And within 21-22 data, it showed that at the elementary level, that students with disabilities, only 12% had achieved math and ELA, were proficient. And our attendance was 70% were not chronically absent. So they flagged us on both. I just had a call in today to the IU. So what the plan is if you're flagged with those, you need to develop a plan to show how you're going to monitor and target, and that plan is then approved by the board and then approved by PPE. We do not, actually what's interesting is when we looked at our most recent data from Linkit, what we put in, we actually, our students with disabilities went from 6% to 18% proficient in ELA third grade and ELA math. Our attendance is up over 83% that are not chronically absent. So one issue I have with this is that they're not using the most recent data. So in speaking with the expert at the IU, she recommended that we wait until October, till the new PBAS scores come in, and then I'm going to challenge, because I have data that shows that we are showing growth in both of those areas. So that's what was found with the elementary. Now, the elementary has to submit a plan to PDE every year because they are a title school. So Joy's been doing those plans for a long time. The middle school this year was also found students with disabilities, that subgroup achievement, only 13% were proficient. Regular attendance, only 62% were not chronically absent. And what's odd, at the most recent data from the state, we are at 89%. So we're in the green. This showed us in the red. And then again, for career standards and benchmarks. So the big issue is that they want the school to focus on those issues. And that leads me to one of the things about our aides. So our aides are the ones that help us to target the different levels and the different groups. And we see right now that, now, for example, in fourth grade, we went from 17% proficient to 7% proficient of our special ed population in ELA. And in math, we went from 8% proficient to 0. Now, some of this is due to the different types of kids. So each cohort is different and it's different kids. So you could statistically put some of that information, some of those numbers to that. But again, if we don't have the aides to help us do our win groups, then we can't target these groups as well. Yes, we'll put them in intervention groups. It might be an intervention group of 10 or 12 instead of an intervention group of 3. So Mara had asked how long did we have aides? As I said, we went back to 2010. We can still find we have that. Currently, right now, we do not have an aide for fourth grade and we only have one for third grade. So we're having to pool, and that was another reason why I had asked to put those aides back on the agenda. So I'm hoping that the board will help us out with that and provide us with those aides so that we can, of course, support our students that are not achieving. And that's basically it. If you wish to table it so that you can read through them better, I'm fine with that. We have a month before it has to go into the state, so I'm comfortable with whatever you choose there.
I'd like to make a motion to table this item, please. Second one, Mr. Jerry Rocker, because there's no debate about this.
You have questions? Since
No,
we have a
no,
motion.
no, once the table, once the
I had my
table's on,
hand up while you were saying. they
not
moved the
once the
table.
table is on the thing, there's no discussion with that.
Well, see the hand up, so I just want to make sure that. we're-
Are you gonna stop me from speaking in the meeting?
Okay, speak.
Okay,
Thank you. Please talk to her appropriately.
Laura,
Mr. Mike.
so if we were to table this tonight, it wouldn't affect you going back and, did you say appealing this in October?
So, we have to send it in no matter what, and we have to do a plan no matter what. So, if I don't, we're August, I'd like to send it in, if not tonight, I'd like to send it in September. And then I have to do it anyway, and then I can still appeal it in October, and I'd like to get, those designations removed if we're not.
So if
Do
we
those.
accept this designation tonight, then how does that affect what you'll do in October? Is there any, what do you suggest we do if you're going to?
I'm fine with either, we could wait. So I don't have a problem with it,
I just didn't want it to put us behind.
it will be okay, because I did put this early on the
Thank
agenda.
you.
All in favor of the table?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion table period.
All right, superintendent's report,
I have nothing tonight.
monthly financial report.
Financial report for the month of July, our beginning cash balance. And this is all again in our FNB bank statements. This is the general fund, $406,457. Our total local source receipts for the month were $111,394. From our federal and state sources, our total receipts was $412,660. And miscellaneous receipts were $2,744, with an additional $1 million of a transfer from our Pliget investment account into the general fund. So our total receipts and transfers in was $1,526,798. With the total funds available, $1.933 million. Our expenditures and transfers out, $1,046,869. This leaves us with an ending cash balance in the general fund of $886,386. Our Pliget accounts are as follows for the month of July. This is the balance at the end of the month for each of these specific accounts. The Pliget General Fund, the ending balance was $2,664,302. Our capital reserve account was $2,240,518. Our athletic fund is $137,492. The two separate bond accounts that we have, the first is the series of 2022. The ending balance in that account is $7,359,449. And in the series 2023, the ending balance is $9,881,575. The total then for Pliget, the cumulative total at the end of July of all Pliget funds is $22,283,337. The July starts the first month of the fiscal year. The interest earned on our Pliget funds for the month of July total $45,614.95. And again, that does not include any FNB interest, that is just what is earned in Fleet. That's it for financials.
Okay, Chris Clark, technology. You had something you want to say?
Didn't really have anything technology.
Whatever you want.
I just prepared a personal statement with regards to the life skills program and want to read that about the program. I've had the pleasure of being service of the Northern Cambridge School District for the last 8 years. And a huge part of that is helping you guys make sure that you're reaching ADA.
Here.
Okay, great. Love it. A big part of that is helping us to make sure we're reaching ADA compliance because it's very important topic for me. I've been working in support of technology for 20 years. And Northern Cambridge is actually not my first K-12 client. My first K-12 client is a specialist teacher in Buffalo, New York, Karen Palau. Karen's caseload is primarily students with partial or complete blindness. And teaching is a challenge on its own. Teaching in a world where things are not prepared for you or not made, designed with your mind can be a staggering challenge. And I have to emphasize that it's a staggering challenge, especially for Karen, and she is also blind. Working with Karen was probably the most informative and part of my work that has been I'm proudest of in my career. And so every day that I'm here, and every administrator that I've worked with here has had me in their office at some point to discuss ADA compliance and how important it is, not from a legal perspective that we are required to do it, but from a moral perspective. Supporting those in your community with disabilities is, for me, a moral imperative. It's also a personal note for me on the life skills, because my grandmother, who helped raise me, worked in a special needs school, specifically doing life skills like this. And she helped me become the support person that I am to this community and everybody else in my life. I also note that my cousin Heather, who was born with a severe heart defect and Down syndrome, and overcame a lot of challenges in her life and is now an independent person living on her own as a result of programs like this. So my hope is that you will fully fund this program as best you can. And thank you. So.
Okay, minute approval, be it resolved, the minutes of the July 18, 2024 committee of the whole regular meeting is approved as presented. I'll make the motion. Commissioner Carol Lee. Anyone have questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, be resolved, the treasurer and financial reports be resolved, the treasurer and financial report for July 2024 be approved as presented or amended, received and filed. I'll make that motion. So, Mrs. Jen Zenshaw, questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, then executive session. Be resolved, the Board of Education moves to executive session to discuss students, contracts, personnel, and or legal matters at 7:13 PM. I'll make that motion. So this is Norm Krug. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Yeah, I don't know when we're back, folks, so. Okay. Be resolved, the Board of Education resumed the August 20, 2024 regular meeting at 8:06 PM. I'll make that motion. Mr. Jerry Brunacher. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Now, in order to be good, go a little quicker here, we're gonna do like we did before. I'm gonna read these for you. If you have any objections or anything, stop me and we'll go over them. Okay, I'm just gonna read the heading because everyone has their thing in front of them, okay? All right, action agenda, building ground cafeteria. Item A, the building project update. Hank, you want to give us any kind of an update on that?
I'll be very, very brief. Give big picture, and if there's any questions you can ask. Generally, there's no change orders to review this month, so that's a good thing. The project seems to be on schedule. The parts that were supposed to be open to start the school are going to be open to start the school. there will be punch list items that still will need to be done in those areas. Anything that needs to be done after school starts will be done on second shift. They won't work while the students are in the spaces. Little things like the life skills room, the lockers haven't shown up yet. So when the lockers do show up for that room, they will install them in that room after hours. It's little things like that. But in general, everything's moving along.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you. Is that okay to do something for Nick or something? Anything we need from Nick?
I don't think Nick's even here.
Well, I mean, for Todd speaking.
Oh, yeah, no, Nick basically gives his review, his report the first meeting of the month, and I'm here for the second.
Okay.
So the coverage.
And there will be a tour tonight for board members after the meeting.
Okay, business and finance, item A is the PSBA unemployment compensation insurance. You all had that packet in your agenda. The cost for the school year of 24-25 is $5,675.61. Do you need anything to that, Mr. Karanich?
I sent you guys that email. It's basically unable, you can't purchase that through a normal broker. We've been doing it since I've been here.
Right, I'll make the motion. So, Mrs. Carol Lee, any questions or comments on that? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, item B is the Chromebook insurance. You have that in front of you. Cost of the parent purchase insurance is $25 per student. I'm guessing that's per year also, right?
Yes.
I'll make the motion for that. Second one, Mrs. Mark Krimenacher. Anybody have questions or comments on that?
I took the insurance and it replaced my daughter's computer when I flooded our kitchen, and it was well worth having. Same.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Giddings Protected Security Incorporated, we just talked about that in the executive session. For one armed officer, it's gonna be $51,349.07 for 176 school days. Is that right, correctly?
Yes.
076, okay.
Well,
As long as it's not 76 cents and that zero is not supposed to be there. fine.
I think what it is.
I know it's a small thing, but just to be thing.
76. Yeah. It should be 76.
Okay, $51,349.76 for 176 school days. Everybody have that? Okay, I'll make the motion. So, Mr. Jerry Krimenacher, any questions or comments on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, item D is the Stephen P. Catchmer student evaluations that were done. Psychology, evaluations were done for a couple of students. We all talked about that before. I'll make the motion for that. Motion second by Mr. Jen Zenshaw. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, and the one we took a lot of time on, the appliance purchases for life skill room. We all had a lot of comments on this. Everyone knows what it's gonna cost not to exceed $6,000 even for the ADA. We were told. Okay, I'll make the motion on that. So there's Jen Zenshaw. Since there was so much discussion on that, we're gonna do a roll call.
Mrs. Hubert,
Yes.
Dr. Cruz,
I really hope it doesn't come back to bite us because of age appropriateness, but I'll vote yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
No, not for this grade level.
Mr. Krimenacher,
No, not for the grade level.
Mrs. Krimenacher,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Basil,
Yes.
Ms. Zenshaw.
Yes.
Motion carries.
6, 2. Okay, MB Tech. I guess they're gonna buy some science lab equipment for them for $3,839.00 for the high school science department. Want to get that? Okay, I'll make the motion for that. So this is Mark Krimenacher. Any questions or comments?
I'll just ask, probably stupid question, obviously, this is gonna be stuff that's coming down here next year, does it go into the?
Yeah, electric restrainers, you can transport them, and this is for the AP course.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed to that? Okay, item G is Ignite Education Solutions Agreement. I guess we talked about this in executive session last time. So, everybody remember all that about that? I'll make the motion. So this is Jen Zenshaw. Any questions any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, community relations, we have nothing at this time. Curriculum instruction, Mrs. Norman Craig, item A, elementary, middle school, and high school plans. I think we voted to table that, so we're gonna move on. Item B, Cambria County Drug and Alcohol Program Agreement. Be resolved, the Board of Education approves the agreement between the Cambria County Drug and Alcohol Program, Cambria County Behavioral Health, Intellectual Disabilities, and Early Intervention Programs, and Northern Cambria School District to cooperate in the development of the Student Assistance Program, SAP, issued for the 2024-25 school year. This is Appendix 23. Motion by Mrs. Mark Krimenacher. So by Mrs. Norman Krug. Questions or comments? I have one. Is there a cost to this to the district? Because this is a pretty involved contract.
There is no cost to the district, and we only use it on an as-need basis. It's part of the SAP program.
Okay, well, there is a matter,
Paid for by the county.
why is a voluntary program so, like, there's termination fees involved with your own lawyers and all kinds of stuff for some kind of a program that's voluntary. That's a very involved contract.
I think it's because it's through the county. Any contracts that I've ever received through the county are very, very involved.
Anybody else?
There's termination fees or something.
No, it's if like you terminate the cause, you have to pay your own lawyer fees, all that kind of stuff. Okay, for a voluntary program, I just, that's odd to me, that's the only reason I asked that question. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so item C, Southwood Children's Behavioral Health Care Agreement, everybody should have that, it was in your agenda packet. It's $90 per day as needed, I'm guessing that's per child that we send.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make that motion. So Mrs. Mark Krimenacher. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, legislation policy development, you guys all had these, this is the second reading. We're gonna do item A through N as one motion. If you have any questions or on any of them or any concerns, just stop me and tell me which one it is, okay? So I'll make the motion on items A through N. These are basically just updates to policies. Not a lot of wording changes. Anybody have any questions? Okay, I made the motion for A through N, second by Mrs. Carol Lee. Questions or comments on items A through N? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed to any of them? Okay, items A through N is a yes for everybody. Okay. Item O is a 2024-25 calendar update. Be resolved, the Board of Education approves the modifications to the 24-25 school calendar to resolve issues with the NCEA contract and the wording of such as per appendix 29. 39. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Norman Krug. Questions or comments?
I have one.
Okay.
Does this, please, the wording of the buses contract?
I'm sorry.
The school calendar, does this accommodate busing? The
Yes,
busing
because we
contract?
have the snow days in there.
Okay, I'm saying that hasn't changed or anything.
I think they would just move, right? The snow days are
Correct.
just-
One snow day was moved March 14th. It was originally April 17th.
Yeah.
It was moved to the 14th.
No, they're up to 80 days too. Wasn't that a request?
The Act 80, yes, because Act 88 days don't exist, but their contract still has it, so they wanted it to match the contract.
I saw that. And then Tri-County is fine with this now?
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Item B, settlement agreement. Be resolved, the Board of Education has reviewed an executive session, accepts and approved the MOU for the settlement. I guess that's.
No, yes, it's.
It's done, there's nothing to do with that, right? We can actually forget this one. Okay. Okay, personnel, item A, retirement. The Board of Education accepts with regret the retirement of notification of Mrs. Lori Rainish as a full-time library aide. Mrs. Rainish has 15 years of experience in the district. Thank you very much for your service. Very much, as per attachment 3. I'll make the motion for that. Second, Mr. Jerry Criminal. Any questions or comments?
I just also want to echo you, wish her well, and thank her for her service.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, item B, hire a paraeducator as teacher's aide for a vacant position. Be resolved that the Board of Education approves the hiring of Jennifer Macaluso for a 5-hour paraeducator position at a rate of $11.25 per hour. Motion by Mr. Chen Zhenchao, second by Mrs. Mark Urnacher. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, item C, school aid substitute list. Here's all the Board of Education approves the addition of Leanne Butterbaugh to the school aid substitute list for the district. I'll make the motion. Second by Mr. Terry Krimenacher. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, item D, create new paraeducator positions, which is teacher's aides. Be resolved, the Board of Education approves as discussed in executive session, hiring 2 5-hour school aides for students as required in their IEPs as per attachment number 4. Okay, these ones are for IEPs. Make the motion. So Mr. Jen Zenshaw, questions or comments on these? Go ahead.
Will we need to fill these positions before the school year begins? We have shuffled so that those positions are filled. But, so that is being covered for the IEP. And we're hoping to backfill some other positions. So because of the IEP and because of the timely manner, we had to shuffle some things around.
So
To
then,
make sure the IEP is covered.
right, but so we will eventually bring in people for these positions.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
So what you're saying is the people that are in here now are gonna be switched out.
Possibly, yes.
That's not how a motion reads.
Is that?
This is just to create a new
I just want 2 positions, that's all I want.
Possible.
I haven't hired anybody, just want to create.
But as required by their IEPs, I probably would put in there what their use of it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Are you concerned if we hire like this, that the people we hire would have to go into those 2?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm worried about them being switched out because they're gonna be familiar with that IEP already. And they know what they need, and then we're gonna switch them out. That's my biggest hang up, yes.
I would prefer not to switch them out, but if they're not working in that position, then I would constantly have to move things around.
Because you know who these are for. We discussed this in executive session, so. That may, we can create a headache.
I don't think so. I think it's necessary, at least create the position. And we'll do with it from there.
Yeah, I would rather it have been a generalized position.
It's just the wording.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just worried about what might happen later on, that's all. Okay,
It's just the wording vote.
I feel like the wording was because of the urgency due to the fact that school's starting and.
but that won't matter later on. The wording's what's gonna matter. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed?
I am. Opposed, please. How many were opposed?
7-1.
No, Jerry's.
Oh, Jared, sorry, 6-2.
Okay.
Okay. 6-2. Okay. Ignite professional substitute list, you have them all in front of you. Okay, I'm not gonna read them, see them there. I'll make the motion. This is Mark Urnacher. Questions or comments on that list? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, resignation be resolved, the Board of Education accept the resignation of Mr. James Yeager as a district school aide effective immediately. I'll make the motion. Second, Mr. Jerry Krimenacher. Questions or comments? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, item G is Ignite School Aid Substitute. Be resolved, the Board of Education authorizes administration to hire Mr. Tim Yeager as a substitute teacher's aide in the district for the 2024-25 school year. I'll make the motion for that.
I'll second.
Is that anyone? Second, Mr. Throw. Questions or comments on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, staff development, item A, Jolt IU8, be resolved, the Board of Education approves subscribing with the Jolt EDU at the IU8, providing professional development to the online courses for the 24-25 school year. The district-wide subscription fee is $1,500. I think that's for every person who go, right? They go, right? Not just each one.
Every single person,
That's for
and
appendix,
there's many classes as we wish to take.
okay, appendix 41. Compared to my stuff, that's really cheap. Okay. I'll make the motion. So, Mr. Jen Zenshaw. Any questions or comments?
I do. Have we ever done this in the past?
Have we used Jolt before? No, this is the first.
What did we do earlier?
So I'm trying to give more options for professional development and doing some things that can be virtual. In the past, I bring in a speaker, maybe for that amount of money to do a presentation. Whereas this is making it more flexible for the teachers. I can do it virtually. They can do it on their own time. They can do it time that I give them. It's just another way to distribute the professional development.
Okay, so we are buying this subscription per that price or per each teacher in the building?
That is the subscription for every course, for every teacher.
So they can take it to many classes.
So I can take 100 classes for $1,500.
Everybody in the school can take the 100 classes. For $1,500. Good. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, new teacher, I'm sorry, item B, new teacher induction at the IU8. Be resolved, the Board of Education approves participation in the two-year induction program for new teachers at a one-time fee of $175 per new member teacher as per item 40, appendix 41. Which one, Mr. Mark Tromanon? Mr. Jen Genshaw? Questions or comments? Good, Jen, go ahead.
How many new teachers will we have this year?
We have one.
Thank you.
Norm?
And this is a new program as well?
We use this program every year.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, student activities, item A, therapy dog. We'll talk about those if you want to, Mrs. Prevish. Go ahead.
And for the presentation, am I prepared?
I can get that. Try to get that. Give me a second. Let's maybe try this right now.
This way?
Yeah, they're maybe halfway.
Can you see?
I don't think Mike and Danielle can see that. Perfect. There you go. There you go.
Want me to mic?
Like, yeah.
I'm gonna move because I do.
There we go. And you just tell me when to move
Okay.
the slides.
So I'm coming today to kind of speak of the benefits of therapy dogs. Fly. So the agenda of what you're gonna hear about tonight is why now, our mental health data from Northern Cambria School District, the positive impact, the academic and behavioral effects, how they'll be implemented, and successful implementations in the area, community support, addressing concerns, and next steps and recommendations. Why now? And this is a picture of me and the two therapy dogs that could be coming here that I raised on my own, so I know where they came from, good genes. Many of our students have experienced trauma and are experiencing mental health issues due to the deaths of classmates, family members, and other environmental factors. I've been here for 3 years. We have lost 4 students in those 3 years. Just in the high school, I know of 3 parents I've lost by suicide from gunshots. Like, we have a lot of mental health issues happening in our area that our children are dealing with. There is a lot of trauma on a daily basis. This is a skill set that I have, and I wanted to share it with our students to help them develop resiliency through pet therapy. Something, I grew up with dogs, and although they were not called pet therapy at the time, that's exactly what they provided for me. Something that why I came to do this when I came here, I fully believe that I'm here for a reason. Whether you're religious or not, I really believe that God placed me here for a reason. And this is a skill set that I have, and I don't feel like I'd be doing the justice of why I'm here if I didn't share this with our students, because it's helped me to get through lots of trauma in my own personal life. And I think I can use those same things to help our students. I'm willing to take on the extra work, the training, setting up schedules, paying for vet bills, food, care. I will also bring them with me to campus every day that I'm here, excluding the summer months. I sent out a survey this week to teachers just to see an interest, if it was passed by the board, how many teachers will be interested, because it isn't worth pursuing if the teachers aren't on board to help do so. In 1 day's time, we had 43 district-wide teachers sign up to take on a therapy dog per the schedule if it is passed by the board. These are just different statistics from our Pennsylvania Youth Survey that we did. So when you're looking at this, and I don't know how much you can see from there, so let me explain what you're looking at. Hold on 1 second. So when you look at the data, the dot that you're looking at, just so you know what you're looking at, that is the state level from 2023. So that's where we compare for the state. When you're looking at the light blue, this is district data from 2019. And when you're looking at the dark blue, that is district data from 2023. So dark blue current, light blue previous, state is where the rest of the state is. And if you just look at these dots across the board without even knowing what they are, here in Northern Cambria, we are higher than statewide averages. So when you're looking at this, the first area, this section right here, is self-harm, cutting, scraping, burning. This is where our students range. This number right here, if you can't see numbers, 0, 20 percentile, 40 percentile, 60, 80. The second set, first month overall mental health is good. So these students believe that their mental health was good at that time. This next section, felt depressed or sad most days in the past. So if you look at these numbers, this line cutting over, 40% of our students, that's a pretty significant number. Sometimes I think that life is not worth it. Also very significant when you're looking at that, that's pushing 40%, between 30 and 40%. At times, I think I'm no good at all. All in all, I'm inclined to think that I'm a failure. So when you're looking at these are some serious statistics for the children that we work with every day. This next part is just our risk factors for all grades. So this is across all grades that are given this test or the survey. So this is community in this section, family, school, peer, and individual. So when you're looking at these different factors, this is low neighborhood achievement, perceived availability of drugs, perceived availability of handguns. There are just things across the board. When you look at these high numbers again, the black dot is statewide, and the same thing with the numbers. Low commitment towards school. If you look at that line, like look how high that line is. We're pushing 70% of our students that don't feel commitment towards school. They don't feel like they belong there. Slide. We talked about bullying, and these are some different things going on with bullying. Just some of the different things that also happened. They felt sad or hopeless almost every day for the last 2 weeks in the past year and stopped doing usual activities. So when you look at these numbers going across, have you been bullied during the past 12 months? So these are students who've been bullied. These are students who skipped school due to bullying fears in the past. So and if you look at those numbers, most of the time our numbers are higher than the state numbers. Slide. These are just some of the depressive symptoms that are going. So this first section is students that have no depressive symptoms, students with moderate depressive symptoms, and students with high depressive symptoms. And if you look at that district-wide in 2023, we'll just look at the high. District-wide in 2023, high was 10.4%. The state's 5.4. District-wide, the next one, alcohol in a lifetime. So this is how many of our kids are drinking. 71.4 compared to 51.2 in the state. Another significant one. If you're looking at marijuana in a lifetime, we know that we've had to deal with some of that going on. Ours is at 55. Statewide is at 28. Slide. And these are just some other statistics when you're looking at these, just different things that are going on. And it kind of takes the other slide in a different, it just turned it in a different direction. So again, you're looking at where they kind of compare to one another. So high is that low commitment towards school again. This next section, parent attitudes favorable towards antisocial behavior. Laws and norms favorable towards drug usage. Low neighborhood attachment. It's not like when we were kids that you had like that feeling of belonging. A lot of our kids don't have that. And these numbers are definitely like, we have some pretty high stats and some things that our kids are going through. Slide. So the benefit, the positive impact of having this human-animal bond. It improves physical and mental health, promotes conversation, improves self-esteem and confidence, positively impacts social skills. Dogs are non-judgmental, which also helps our kids that are in trouble with reading. They can read the dogs. Dogs don't know if they're reading the right words or not. There's a perfect situation for some of those kids that are struggling in reading. Inhibits the production of the stress hormone cortisol. So it is highly scientific as well. It's not just, hey, I love dogs. There's actually a scientific benefit behind it. Reduces anxiety, reduces stress, reduces blood pressure. Emotional and mental benefits. And these are actually, we had a puppy day at school. So these were my puppies that came into school, and these are some of our kids that you're going to see. And again, I'm not gonna read through all of these because they're the same things you just saw on that last slide. But again, reduce anxiety and stress, improve mood and emotional regulation. Slide. Social benefits and enhance social skills. The great thing when we have puppy play day, you see kids talking to each other that never talk to each other and interacting with me and interacting with teachers. It is a great, whatever you want to call it, to bring people together. Increase empathy and compassion. Regular interaction with a therapy dog can teach students empathy, compassion, and the importance of caring for others. I have a young lady that wants to go on cyber because she doesn't want to be here anymore. She's just struggling, she's having troubles at home. She's a dog girl. I said, if this could happen, you could help me. And she's like, that would be great, I love dogs. So there's another way of getting kids into school. They're gonna have other reasons why they want to come to school. Academic benefits, and again, this is showing reading to dogs. This is a huge undertaking that's happening across our country right now. Improved reading skills, enhanced concentration and learning. The presence of a therapy dog can create a calming environment, making it easier for students to concentrate on their studies and engage in classroom activities. And again, this back one, again, it's a non-judgmental audience. Behavioral benefits, reduce behavioral issues. Therapy dogs can decrease instances of disruptive behavior. A dog's calming presence can help students with behavioral issues feel more grounded and less inclined to act out. If you look at these faces, like look at how they're all engaged and talking and like this is always a huge day for our kids. They love when it's puppy play day. Positive reinforcement. And back one. Therapy dogs can be used as a reward for good behavior, encouraging students to maintain positive conduct. And that's what puppy play day was. It was a positive reward day. Physical health benefits. You've heard that on the slide before. Lower blood pressure and heart rate and increased physical activity. Slide. Support for special needs students. Therapeutic benefits for special needs. Students with special needs, including those with autism, ADHD, or emotional disturbances, can particularly benefit from the presence of a therapy dog. The dog can provide sensory support, emotional stability, and a sense of safety. Individualized support. Therapy dogs can be used in individual education plans, or IEPs we were talking about earlier, to support specific therapeutic and educational goals. I can tell you that one of my puppies went to a family. She was a lady that cut my hair. She had 2 nonverbal special needs girls. And she picked one of our puppies that was a little bit rowdy, and I was a little concerned that this was going to be a problem. That dog responds differently to each of those girls. They respond. It is an amazing relationship that these young ladies that are nonverbal, they can't speak, have with this dog. Staff benefits. Improve teacher well-being. The presence of a therapy dog can also positively impact teachers and staff, reducing stress and creating a more pleasant working environment. Enhance school climate. Overall, the presence of a therapy dog can contribute to a more positive and supportive school climate, benefiting both students and staff. And I think that initial survey I sent around to get an idea, you know, 43 people in our district respond to anything in a day. That's pretty amazing. And it was across elementary, middle, and high. Slide. Implementation of the therapy dog program. Successful school programs around our area, Adel Perry Tech, Portage area, Central Pyramid High School, Altoona Area School District, Holidays Area School District, River Valley School District, and college campuses, WVU, Penn State, Drexel, Penn, Slippery Rock, Millersville, Bucks, Syracuse University, Purdue, Pitt, Virginia Tech, and that's just a very brief survey when I was looking around to see places that have them. When I toured WVU with my daughter, there were signs everywhere. They have a therapy dog program there. And basically, as a student, you rent them out like a library dog. And they take them to the green for the day and go and hang out because college kids need that mental health boost. It is a great thing. So it's kind of what piqued my idea of even thinking to do this in our area. Slide. Community support. So a mother from our school mentioned, I hope this comes to fruition at our school. The benefits will be immense. Mental, or should I say health on there? I can have a typo. Mental health absolutely matters. From a special education teacher, I know my students would greatly benefit from a therapy dog. From someone else, we love our therapy dog at Admiral Perry Vocational Technical School, and I hope we can bring one to our students at NCSD. And this is from our first puppy play day when I first came here 3 years ago, and we brought them in for the students that have a World War Day, and that was something that they participated in. Again, speaking of Admiral Perry VOTEC, when I speak to Joe Luther, who leads VOTEC, he tells me it is the cheapest counselor they've ever had. So we're not paying a lot of money for a counselor, but we have dogs that are doing the same thing. Slide. Addressing concerns, and I know there are some. Therapy dogs will be owned and trained by Lisa Prebish on her own time. The owner will pay all of the vet bills. The owner will pay for all of the food and grooming. Therapy dogs will be brought to school daily by the owner when she is present. The dogs will be scheduled across the district every week and on rotation. They're not going to live in my office. That's not how that's going to work. They're going to be scheduled to be rotated around the district. Dogs will be safe, that's that part, and the dogs are going to be used for mental health across the district and for students to read to in the elementary school. Elementary school definitely has a huge place in my heart. I was an elementary teacher for over 20 years, teaching first and second grade. Reading is near and dear to my heart. When I see some of these statistics of our elementary kids reading, it breaks my heart. We've got a lot of kids coming out of COVID that didn't get time with a teacher reading to them. I watched that grade travel through testing. Those kids are coming to me eventually, and they're not going to be able to read. We need to get on that, and we need to get those kids reading. My master's is in early childhood. If you don't get them reading by a certain time, they're not going to be good readers. They're going to struggle for the rest of their lives. By the time they get to me, they'll be struggling in science. They'll be struggling in history, besides the LA that they're going to struggle in. Even in math, there are word problems. So reading is in every subject by the time they get to me. So if they're not a good reader, they're going to be struggling everywhere. If this is something we can do and it's going to help those kids become better readers, I am all for it. Flat. And that's just me saying thank you. This was the day they were in my office and they were laying on the floor. I was working at my desk. They were napping. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions? Jen.
So I will just, you all know I'm at the VOTEC. I work with Mr. Luther. We have a therapy dog at the VOTEC. Our therapy dog there just graduated with our class. So it came out and capped, and graduated through public school. And it's grown with the class. And Mr. Luther had spoken about how the benefits helped our students. You know, we could have a student who was very escalated and, you know, down in his office, and the therapy dog would come in and he would just sit with the dog for a little bit, pet the dog, and suddenly he would de-escalate, and, you know, whatever troubles were going on, they were gone. So I encourage the therapy dogs. I spoke with Mr. Luther about how, you know, our teacher there who has the dog goes home with her all the time. And VOTEC, we also use the PCCD grant. At Central Cambria, you know, Dr. Moore, we talked about this as well. They also use the grant to pay for their therapy dogs. It is becoming the norm to have some sort of therapy animal because there is such a great benefit for students, and because mental health is taking such a toll on our community. I'm an advocate for this, and so I hope that we can bring this forward.
And I do have all the information from Mr. Luther per the grant, so I know exactly how to write it to get what we need to do, because I'm gonna basically borrow it from another school that was successful with the program to bring it to our kids.
Two comments. One is, I think this is great. I think that, again, as a school district, we as a board have an opportunity to really make an impact on students, not just from an educational standpoint, but we can offer so much more. But, you know, we talked about life skills night. We have a contract for school resource officer. We're now talking about therapy dogs. There's a a true measurable benefit from therapy dogs, and we really have to think, and again, I used to own the hospice with my brother, and we had music therapy, they used to have pet therapy, there's art therapy for dying patients that it treats pain, anxiety, all those symptoms that are at end of life. So now we have an opportunity to offer pet therapy for students to really distract them and give them something to look forward to. And I just think this is there's obviously questions that are going to be asked. One of mine was going to be, do we need 2 dogs? But with the number of students we have, we probably do. I'm assuming there's going to be.
And I just happen to
questions,
have
things
2
like that.
dogs. That was how I sold them to Mr. Prebish to keep 2 of them.
Okay.
I was only gonna keep 2 of them, and I wanted 2, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity. And honestly, when I first saw this, I saw it at Walter Reed Medical Hospital in DC. My nephew was hurt in Iraq and lost an arm and a leg. And when I was visiting him in Walter Reed and he was recovering, there were therapy dogs in the hospital. And it was honestly one of the most amazing things I ever saw. And it was the first time you saw some of those young men and women that were injured in there smile, because their lives were devastated at that point and they were going through a lot, and it piqued my interest. And I said, you know, if I wasn't a teacher, that's what I would do. And then here I ended up here years later, and I just think it's an opportunity, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And if you approve it, I will jump through hoops to make it happen here, because it benefits our kids.
What breed of dog are they?
Those are silver labs.
Okay, and it seems to me that we've exhausted our PCCD grants, so can you explain how that works?
Yes, we have an additional PCCD grant. So I can certainly use the new grant for this grant right here. Number 41416, I have a certain portion of money, I want to say it's 46,000. That is going towards our guidance counselor's salary. And I was able to do that because we put another guidance at the high school. So we're paying that salary already anyway. So there's no reason why we couldn't, I can ask for a modification in the grant and take that 7,000 from there. So there would be less that would go towards the teacher's salary and 7,000 for here. We just got another grant for the next year. Jen sent that to me. So we have another 111,000 that now they're letting us use it however we wish. So of course, I was planning on putting the bulk of it, 60-some thousand, 65 for the SRO. And then we have what's left. We have a mental health therapist, but you know, we could use the money there as well. So we have options.
Okay, but if the grant was voted on for that teacher, I don't see us being able to change that. Or for the guidance counselor.
Well, that's
That was
why
a-
we're asking. That's why I'm asking. If you choose not to change it.
No, I just
choose
wanted to
not
know if
change
there's additional grants there.
Yeah, we can dig through the money piece later. I think we just, one thing to keep in mind is our money is, though we have grants and it's earmarked, the way Roland presents budgets to us, we have a surplus, all that money's factored in or deficit, whatever it is, and then we have a lot of money sitting in the pliget. So, maybe we could get a grant to replace money that we're spending out of our regular budget. But it could be earmarked, like you said, for the guidance council, but that's not to say that it can't be either reallocated or you apply for a new grant, but we can still afford it.
And the only reason I could allocate it for the guidance counselor is because we didn't have one and we had one. I can't supplant.
I just want to reiterate, and again, it's not a pressure tactic. It's just simply, we do have an opportunity as a board to, we're voting on important topics that impact student mental health. I mean, we've talked about a cell phone policy, which I told my kids, they frustrated me, but I tell them, I would vote for a zero tolerance policy of cell phones in schools. I just understand the impact it is on teachers trying to manage them and on students and how much they're addicted to them, the same as we as adults are. So there's a lot of important things we're voting on that can really treat the entire student, as I said last week, holistically, not just looking at the education, but these important things that can help give them something to look forward to throughout the day. So
I would also say that a student who can come to school and get some help with mental health issues or just feel less anxiety is going to perform better and get more out of their classes. The more we help with their mental health, the reason that schools have to take an interest in mental health is because our job is to make sure that we get the most out of these kids so they get the most out of themselves. And mental health is part of that equation. The better you feel, the better you'll perform.
Good.
I know you said the dogs are gonna be like distributed throughout the district, so are they gonna be like in a different classroom each day?
Yes,
or-
we'll develop a schedule. Once I know if they're available, once they're trained and they're ready to come and we work out all those details, schedules will be made as to where they're going to be. Dr. Tibbet and Mrs. Gibbons also are inclined to help in whatever way that they need to do in their buildings that we can distribute them. And they'll be scheduled, almost like a guest speaker you'd have coming to your classroom as to how they work and where they go and how they're going to be utilized. With teachers that want to utilize them, like they're not gonna be forced on anybody. If there are children that are afraid, of course, we would address those needs as well. If there are allergies, like there are a lot of unknowns. I don't know anything to do, like I've never done this before. But I do know that our children, and I know that our children have suffered a lot of trauma. We have a couple of different classes who've lost classmates. These are young children, and they deal with that on a daily basis, that kid isn't with them anymore. That's a huge deal. And I just want, if this is gonna be something that we can do that helps our children, I'm all for it and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I don't disagree that there is like, you know, some help that dogs definitely give to kids. Like my kids love dogs. We have 2 dogs at our house. You know what I mean? Like we have big animals, they love them. They love being around animals. My sister's little girl won't even come to my house, won't even step foot in my house unless my dogs are like in a crate. Won't go in my barn, won't see the horses. They like despise the animals. Literally, Holly got out of her crate one day and she climbed my sister's back, screaming because there was a dog out of her crate. I just like, I see the benefits, but I also see like how.
And we have brought them in before, like they came in before through our community guidance program. And they were able to wander through and help a lot of the kids. And again, the kids responded to that, but not every kid had to have something to do with the dog. So like, I know there are children that are afraid of dogs.
I
and
just know, like,
We
I
would
just
work
know,
around that.
like if Amy saw a dog, if she saw a dog faster, like she would have a mental breakdown, like putting it, you know.
Right.
You know.
And that
she
isn't
would-
something that we would like, those are factors we would have to take into consideration and figure out how to address those needs as well.
Jerry, you have something?
So what happens if you decide to leave Northern County School District?
I'm not planning on going anywhere unless you guys get rid of me.
They're adults, so we paid you to train them. We're not having them, right?
I would try to figure out how to get them here so that you would still have them. But again, like when I was hired here, I said that I plan to retire from here. So unless you are planning on getting rid of me, I'm staying put. I don't want to move again.
And the next question is what happens if somebody gets bit?
That's something we would have to talk to Toby about and work out those. I do not know all of those answers. I can't tell you any of those.
Fall back on school district? Yes, sir. Obviously have insurance, general liability insurance, but yeah, it would be an issue for the school.
But that's also why they go through significant training so that they don't do, and I'm working on that without training now, making sure that they're not, and honestly, none of my dogs my entire life have been fighters.
They're still. Animals can be trained.
Good one.
So my other concern is if we allow like if we're gonna allow therapy dogs into the school, do we then allow like medical dogs into the school? And if somebody doesn't want a therapy dog, do we let a therapy cat into the school? You know what I'm talking, like, does it escalate where we have a lot of animals in the school building?
I don't
You what
know
I mean?
any of
It's
those
just-
pieces.
It's just thoughts that are going through my head.
Mhm. And those are, I mean, those are all good things to be thinking about. I don't know those answers. I only know my end of it.
Yeah, I just.
You want to
Roland,
talk
if you
to-
stand up, that might.
No, it's very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, transportation has nothing, athletics has volunteer coaches, you can see them in front of you, I'll make the motion. Mr. Jared Kumaraker, questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Girls basketball co-op, be resolved, Board of Education approved the Northern Kansas School District to enter into a cooperation agreement with Harmony Area School District for junior high, junior varsity, and varsity girls basketball starting 24-25 basketball season. I'll make the motion for that. Chairman, Jen Zenshaw. My comment is, I assume that we already did this through the PIAA, because I think there's a process you have to do.
It's already District 6 approved, yes.
Okay. I got that. Any other questions or comments on that?
How many girls does that give us?
In total,
Yeah, does that still give us enough to promote the teams we need?
maybe by, I'm sorry, maybe by the teams.
Harmony's the guest school, right?
Harmony's the guest school, yeah.
Yes, but are our numbers low? That's the reason for bringing Harmony to us.
Harmony is super low. That's why we're bringing them to us to give the girls an opportunity to play basketball. Harmony hasn't been able to field a junior high girls basketball team in 2 years. Last year, the varsity girls basketball team only had 6 players. So as of right now, Harmony in grades 9th through 11th, there are 22 kids. You split that in half, you got 11. That's what counts towards our classification. So it won't move us in classification. And I'm pretty sure they're only sending us maybe 2 girls that we know of as of right now that didn't graduate, that will be on varsity.
Good. Who else good? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, payment of the bills. Be it resolved, payment of the bills for the month of August 2024 be approved as presented or amended, received and filed. I'll make the motion. Any questions or comments on the bills, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, what do you guys want on the,
An appraisal update, please.
appraisal of the high school? I think.
Yes, and also, what happened with the 50,000 we put up for a matching grant for the football field?
Okay,
If it's being used,
Matching
if we're gonna
grant
still
so football.
aside from the grant, is that money being used?
That's a quick one. Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else?
I will put a discussion on
There's nothing, there was
the
no,
gymnasium after John Frontino.
After John Frontino.
John A. Frontino.
I'd like to, discuss the, tiling that's to be done where the, sewer line was replaced in the, boys locker rooms.
Just the boys?
I think that's the only place where the line was replaced. And I think that's the only place that is scheduled to be retiled.
Anybody else? If you have anything in the meantime, please email me. Get it all. Okay. All right, adjournment, be resolved, regular meeting of the Northern Cambria School Board for August 20, 2024, be adjourned at 8:55 PM. I'll make the motion. So Ms. Caroline, questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?